This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
Where you go, Auburn fans? Welcome to No Huddle, your source for Auburn football news and discussion, part of the E2C Network. I'm AJ Richardson, and I'm also here with Jared Davis. We still haven't figured out how to celebrate, but maybe we can celebrate a little bit more if we can get this win over Vanderbilt, the Commodores. And I intentionally do that because to me, the Commodores, I just always think of a door with a I'm just like, I don't even know what a Commodore is, but I think of a comma door.
A Commodore.
Anyway, funny thing about me.
You're having too much fun, AJ. I like it.
I do. I'm having too much fun. The winds brought a little extra energy in me.
I know. You got a little pep in your step that you don't usually have.
Yeah. Which is kind of fun. I'm excited for Auburn, first off, to come back home after the whole month of October being away from Jordan-Hare. We are coming back playing Vandy. The early kind of spread already is 6.5 points Auburn, which is a little wild to me. I thought it would be, if anything, pretty close because Vandy's been trending upwards. I mean, they just this last week almost beat number 5 Texas. They beat Bama, who was number 1 this year. They're just doing crazy things, playing way above their talent level, and they're playing like a united team. So I think that scares me, knowing that they could play us just about as good as any team in the SEC, and that's so not normal for Vanderbilt. Considering I was looking back their season last year, they were winless in SEC play. They only had 2 wins the whole season, and this year they're 5-3, beat Bama. They've had some really good games this year. They played teams that they probably in most years would get completely blown out by, and I think part of it, I don't know about you, is Clark Lee's. I think he's figured out something at Vandy, how to motivate them. But then it's also Diego Pavia, their quarterback. When you have like a big guy like that can motivate, plays really well, really smart in the quarterback room. That's an easy guy for the others to kind of get behind, especially if there's any kind of momentum. And I still feel like Vandy has a ton of positive momentum that I'm sure they're going to carry into this Auburn game. Jared, first impressions. You've seen some of the Vandy games. Is 6.5 too much? Where's that feel about right for you for the spread?
I really don't know. I don't know. So the analytics don't have us as bad as their record. We're I don't know. I think up to last week we were technically number 29 by the computers in the country based off of what we should be with offensive and defensive stats. So it's just been crazy how we've lost some of these games. So I think, from a betting standpoint, I guess I could see the 6.5. It's at home. They basically give you 3.
Right.
Talent. Vandy while they did take Missouri to overtime, they didn't win that game on the road at Missouri, and I think Missouri has been proven to not necessarily be as good as we thought. So I think the on the road factor, if it was at home, I think they're favored, believe it or not. I hate to say that.
You're probably right.
I think with it being a Jordan-Hare, 6.5 is probably about right. I'm not saying we win, but I think 6.5 it doesn't shock me, I guess.
Yeah. I still feel like it probably should be closer to 3, but maybe by the time the game comes around, we're recording this on a Monday, it may be a little bit different, a little bit lower.
Well, if it is 6.5, I think it opened at 5.5, so that means the money's moved to Auburn if it's going to 6.5.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's wild.
I'm pretty sure it opened at 5.5. I don't fully understand all the betting stuff. I understand, putting money, if Auburn wins by, I realize they're giving Vandy 6.5 points. I get that, but I don't know what leads to that. Why is this happening? So, but at the end of the day, Vegas is very smart. They probably hit more than they don't, and but they missed in Kentucky. Although we won, I guess we just won by more than the spread. So.
Yeah. I'm really kind of looking at this team and saying, all right, we finally got, like you said, the monkey off your back. You got a little momentum headed into this game. Maybe that's why this line keeps like bumping up a little bit. They're looking at Auburn. But I mean, you cannot overlook Vandy this year. And considering Diego Pavia has played Hugh Freeze, this will be the third straight year, which again, pretty wild. I mean, that's got to be such a strange thing for Hugh Freeze. I think even he was like, I'm just tired of this guy. Like he's just I don't want to play him again, pretty much, in kind of a joking, fun manner. But he definitely respects what Diego's doing. I mean, if I had Diego Pavia on my team, I would be like, I mean, he kind of reminds me of like I don't know, like if you remember back, like the kind of cockier version of like, trying to think of who, probably like Sean White, if y'all remember him, kind of like just a baller out there, a little rough around the edges sometimes, but he found ways to win. Wasn't the most polished quarterback, and Diego's kind of like that. Like he's not the best quarterback out there, but he knows how to win. He's a smart dude. He plays within the system, and when things start breaking down, he is such an athlete. He can make something happen. And Vandy has some of the wide receivers that came from New Mexico State. So Pavia's already has some good chemistry with those guys. Let's transition to our players to watch for this game. We'll start out on offense. I want to go with Jarquez. That's my gut. I'll just go with that. I'm gonna say Jarquez. Like I think if Jarquez, I mean, you hit on it earlier. I keep coming back to, can we get 100 yards of rushing against Vandy? I think we do, and we can. And like you said, when Hugh Freeze's teams have over 100 yards rushing, I think we win. So I think that's going to be the key player for me. Who are you thinking about, Jared, for offensive players on Auburn's team to be watching?
Is this for our game, or is this just for
just players to watch?
Okay.
Yeah, not the game.
Okay, because I can't pick the same guy if I'm going to come back from 16 down to you. If this is not for me trying to beat you in our little competition, I got to go Jarquez as well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, how can it not be him? I mean, that's who you got.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to keep an eye on him and see how he performs. And I mean, he's moving up the rankings in Auburn rush. I mean, did he move to number 4 or 6? I think he jumped like 4 people Saturday night total rushing at Auburn. Pretty sure it's like number 6 now. So
he's wild.
Yeah, and I think we forget how good he is. He didn't have a great year last year, and I think that kind of hindered a little bit of it. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm watching him. I mean, how can you not? I mean, that's the main.
Oh guy. Yeah, and what's one thing that's pretty wild. Think about this, like what Jarquez is doing right now. He's doing it right around like 20 carries. Like we're not running him into the ground like a Gus Malzahn, like he would do with some of his running backs, where you just throw him out there 30 plus times a game and run situations and get beaten up. Jarquez is still averaging around like 20 carries per game. And I think that helps out with this longevity of the season, where I think Jarquez right now, I mean, you look at him, he's still a healthy dude. And if anything, he's got that little extra chip on his shoulder because we've lost a lot this year, and he does not like that feeling. So, I mean, Jarquez, I feel like it's just the easy pick because, I mean, he's going to determine how we win this game, if we win this game. If he plays well, we win. Defensive players to watch, I mean, I think I'm going to go Keldrick Falk, and the main reason I'm thinking about this is Diego Pavia is pretty mobile. He still passes the ball a good bit, but you got to have a good amount of pressure on him. And I think Keldrick Falk has shown over and over that he can get that extra pressure on the quarterback. Plus, especially with a running quarterback like Diego Pavia, you have to contain him. And so, either of our ends, you cannot get past him. And if you do, Pavia is going to make you pay. So I'm going to go with Keldrick Falk. Who are you going to be going with on defense, Jared?
Yeah, I mean, Keldrick's pretty obvious as well, but I'm going to go a guy who we hadn't heard a lot, but I think he had a sack against Kentucky. He's a senior. He saw Pavia last year. I'm going Eugene Asante. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be used to attack because he looks so good doing it against Kentucky. I think he's going to be used on some blitz packages again. He probably has a bad taste in his mouth from last year. He was on that
Oh
team,
my,
although
I'm
Kilgore
sure.
was as well. But yeah, he wants, he knows what to look for. He's a senior. He's played a lot of football. So I'm gonna be watching him to count on him to make some plays to seal the deal.
Yeah, there's so many good things that Eugene Asante does, and one of them is he just finds ways to get to the quarterback. He and I think that's going to be super critical. I mean, you have to get some pressure on this quarterback. Like if he sits back and gets time, he will make something happen. Like he's got the kind of the swagger of like reminds me of like a Johnny Manziel kind of player, and you're like if he's feeling that and he's feeling the game, like good luck, everybody. He's going to be playing really well. So you have to knock him off of that feeling. Special teams, I mean, I think it's my first gut instinct is watch Alex McPherson. Like I want to see him, continuing to do well in these short field goal positions, where he's making, anything probably under 40 yards. But at the same time, like I also want to be watching potentially like as a secondary guy is Keontae Scott, because I do think there will be some punts in this game, and Keontae could be a game changer for us in this. And I'll kind of, I guess I've already said two, but I'm gonna say one more, and this is just generally special teams. Guys, stop having penalties on special teams. Like it feels like every game special teams has a holding or a block in the back or something. And it's like, guys, just stop it. Just stop it. Like I'm tired of this. Like we have a great return, called back for holding. We have a great kickoff return, called back for blocking the back. You're like, this is so dumb. I'm over this. Rant over. Jared, who are you going to be watching on special teams?
I mean, it's got to be McPherson, right? I mean, I just think that we're not good enough for every point not to matter. And,
Yeah.
We didn't talk about it in the last podcast. We focused only on the good, and not to veer off here, but we got to fix our before halftime game at clock management.
Mm-hmm.
And it kept McPherson from having another opportunity there to kick a field goal. So
Yeah.
we have to give him the opportunities, and then I think the more chances he gets, let's say he gets that kick, that opportunity, does he make the other one later in the game? So I'm going to be keeping an eye on him.
Yeah.
You made a point. I think you mentioned, forgive me because I was thinking about my statement. I think you mentioned about the holdings and penalties on returns.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I was thinking about who I was going to mention. I just call fair catch. I mean,
Oh my
at this
gosh,
point,
yeah. Sometimes.
maybe you said that. Just call a fair catch. Like we just cannot return a kickoff without a penalty. Let's just stop doing it.
Yeah.
I hate to be that way, but like get the ball at the 25. That's not the end of the world.
No, it's
When's
not.
the last time we returned a kickoff anyways? Just get the ball at the 25. Let's fair catch it and let's move on.
Yeah, for sure. So you brought up something that we didn't talk about. So let's talk about it since you brought it up. Right before half of the Kentucky game. Yeah, that was a very polarizing like couple plays because we started out with a run, drained, or it could have drained more clock, but then he decided to call a timeout. It was their final timeout before half, and then we dropped back. I think it was on third down, and we're gonna pass the ball. The internal clock of Peyton Thorne doesn't go off after a few seconds, and he just kind of clutches the ball and then gets sacked. And then Auburn has to rush on the field goal team, do like a quick field goal, and we don't even get the snap off.
Did you see one of our? I think we had too many players on the field. He had nowhere to get on the line, so he was huddled. He was huddled right behind a lineman, standing there like, "What do I do?" Like, I don't want to draw attention to the fact that I'm the 12th man here. So he just kind of slumped behind the line. Oh man.
Oh.
Sorry. Go ahead. That just was so funny to me.
Oh yeah, I thought that was hilarious. That
I think he was the 12th man, and he's like, I don't want to make a big deal about it. So I'm just gonna sit down.
Well, I think somebody counted there were like 14 players on the field for Auburn, and I'm like, oh no.
We had more than 12 then. He literally was like, it was like, not Duck Duck Goose, or where you're looking for a chair to sit. He didn't have one, and so he's like, whatever,
Oh, yeah.
throws his hands up and just kind of squats there.
That
Oh
was
my
hilarious.
goodness. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's
I mean,
funny now.
at that point, well, I mean, at that point, you're like, this is just like a cluster. Like, what are we doing? Like, oh.
AJ, you can't run. You can't. People were talking, well, the passing, your quarterback can't get sacked. I get that. You can't run the ball the few plays before that. You wasted
I
your
think
time
that's
out.
the key.
That was
I think
the wrong
that's
play.
the key.
Yeah.
I think that's the key. Like, so I think there's some, some part of it that is a little bit on Peyton for not throwing the ball away.
There's no doubt. I mean, yeah.
Like, for sure. But at the same time, you were not in that situation. Even if you get sacked on third down, if you still have another timeout, you just call a timeout, and then we kick a field goal and probably are up at half. Now, again, we still won second half. We just absolutely dominated every aspect of every part of that game. But it's still like that happened again. That needs to still get cleaned up. Whatever's going on there with that time management. Like, I saw somebody that was like, did Hugh Freeze go to like the Les Miles time management class, because it feels like he's just as bad as Les Miles. Was it time management, which I think is kind of funny. I don't think it's that bad, but I thought that was pretty good. All right. Let's go into some of our score predictions here. It looks like right now, again, Auburn's a 6.5 point favorite. If you look at ESPN's score predictor, it's right at 63.3% favored towards Auburn. It's come down a little bit since the preseason, and I think rightly so. I don't think anybody thought Vanderbilt was going to be nearly as good as they are right now. But here they are, 5-3, and upset the number one team, Alabama, at the time, and put up a good fight against Texas. Preseason, you and I both had us winning big because we were coming back home to Auburn, which I still think is a big factor in this. I had us winning by 24 points. You had us winning by 17 points. I think I'm going to come down a little bit from that. But I still think we can win this one. I mean, probably the closer I get to it, the more confident I'll get. At this point, I think it's going to be a lot closer, like a 3-point win. But I'm going to put myself in the position of it's Saturday, 11 o'clock, right before kickoff. Is Auburn going to win this game? And I think we do. I think we win. And we probably win. I'm gonna say we beat the spread at this point. I'll say we win by 7 points. Jared, what are you thinking for score prediction for this game?
Do I go Price is Right like I did last week and beat you and say 8 points? Because I think last week you said 3. I said 4.
You can do that.
Yeah, but I got
that. You're still down by 60.
I know, right? I gotta make this bigger. I know this is only 3 different from you. I'm gonna say 10. I say we win by 10.
Okay. Yeah. And now I lost my voice. Oh, fun.
I'm not. You're scared about those 16 points. I've scared you. You said
I am.
I'm coming for you, AJ.
Hey, this is right around Halloween, so I can get spooked easily, apparently.
All right, I'm going 10.
Love it. And I said 7 points. So we'll see how things go. And I mean, if Auburn keeps this momentum going from this win against Kentucky, that seems pretty reasonable. Let's talk about our top offensive threats. That's the other game that we're doing. Again, the criteria is most touchdowns, and then the tiebreaker is who has more yards. See, this is a different one. Like my thought was maybe go Jarquez since he won it last week against Kentucky, but I don't know if we do that against Vandy. Maybe we do, but my gut is going with KLS. So I'm going to go with KLS as my top offensive threat for this game against Vandy. Who are you thinking about for this game, Jared?
I am going to do what I've told Hugh to do all season. I'm not going to overthink it. Give me Jarquez. I'm going Jarquez.
You're probably doing the smart move.
Nobody has ever accused me of doing that, so thank you, AJ.
Well, I'm still trying to fight back. And what did we put on the line? Was it a Waffle House dinner? Was that right? Is that right? What we said?
If you win, it may be Taco Bell. They're a little cheaper.
Dang.
If I win, we're doing Waffle House.
Well, have you seen Taco Bell prices recently? Like they're like $5 meal box thing is like nothing.
It comes with just the box. You don't actually have food
it's like
in
the
there.
box and like one taco.
Yeah.
That's not a meal.
I can only imagine the price of everything. I went to a fast food quotation marks restaurant the other day and it was $55 and I was like, what?
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's
and
not
I was
fast
the only
food.
one ordering. I'm kidding. That was not just me.
I would hope not, dude.
Yeah.
I hope not. All right, so let's go to our final section of this podcast, an Auburn fan perspective of the SEC. I was watching this game live. It was with my wife's grandmother, who's a big Bama fan, and so we were watching the Bama game in Missouri. And for a while, it was actually pretty impressive. Like Missouri was right there with Alabama for most of the game. But then at some point, I think, we just faced Missouri, their quarterback, that pain meds or whatever it was started to wear off. And then I think he got some sort of hand injury, which took him out for the rest of the game. So not only did he have that like ankle injury, which sounds like it's probably like a high ankle sprain, but he also had something happen to his hand. So both of those things kind of led to him coming out. And from that point on, Missouri was just out of it. I mean, it was kind of like their backup quarterback against Auburn. Like when we were playing Missouri with their backup, that quarterback could not do anything. But when that starting quarterback came back in, it was they had the momentum. So Bama obviously shut them out, which is actually very impressive. I mean, in today's college football world, when you shut out a team, it is truly impressive. So that was a good win for Bama. And I think Bama's slowly kind of coming back up, even though they still have 2 losses. I saw the SEC shorts. Did you see the one from this week, Jared? The SEC
I
shorts.
did. I have not. I usually watch it every week. I've not seen the new one.
Okay, so I watched it right before that. It was really funny. It was talking about Bama, and it was like a crazy Bama fanatic fan, and he had like this like investigation board thing, and he's got lines and stuff. And he's like thinking about, I have 2 losses, but if this happens and Auburn wins here and Auburn loses there and we beat this team, and if Georgia beats this team, we could go to the playoff. We could do it. And I was like, that's awesome. Like when has Alabama ever been worried like that? It feels like super rare.
Math on it, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's been a while. But 08 for sure, since they've really had to worry about that.
Yeah. And then Texas, we'd already talked about this one. Number 5 Texas barely held off Vandy, 27-24. That was a good little matchup. Vandy kind of in the last minute or so scored a touchdown, making the game look a lot closer. But Texas did hold them off and won this one. And then Texas A&M. In Aggieland over in College Station, held off number 8 LSU. LSU was doing pretty well. They had a couple like costly turnovers in that game. It was kind of interesting that Texas A&M they'd been going with Connor Wigman as their quarterback, and they ended up, I think it was in the second half, they pulled him and they put in their backup Marcel Reed. And Marcel Reed, I mean, people are saying it, and I think I'm starting to buy into it, is Marcel Reed is the future quarterback at Texas A&M because he played really well. Like, I think if they stuck with Connor Wigman, they probably lose that game. But because they switched to Marcel Reed and he was playing out of his mind and had multiple touchdowns, that was the difference in the game. So smart move by Texas A&M to do that.
It was a smart move. What I'm confused about, I didn't watch the game. He only completed 2 passes. So
yeah,
how did
he ran the ball?
Yeah, how did they
ton.
come? I know. I'm like, I look at every time I look up, they've scored another touchdown, and then later I heard he only completed 2 passes. I was like, how does that happen? but apparently whatever he was doing was working.
But that's all he needed to do. Like he had like for example, I think he had 2 passes for like 70 yards. So it was like when he passed the ball, it was like deep bomb getting completed. So that's another kind of wild thing. Also, I saw that Kyle Field, which is where Texas A&M is, they had 108,000 plus fans there, which that honestly just blows my mind that for any sporting event, like any kind of sporting event, you have that many fans. Because I mean, I've been to Bryant Denny before. They have like 101 or 102,000, which is a ton of people. But I'm like, how do you fit another 6,000 fans up there? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I remember how they do it. I was up in the nosebleeds at Kyle Field one time, and it literally feels like you're like 700 feet away from the stadium because the stadium's so big.
I agree with you. That's a lot of people. How did the producer of this show get his name on the field is what I want to know.
I don't know.
Kyle Field?
How?
I don't know. I'm just wondering. Our boss
he
here,
paid. Oh yeah, he apparently like paid A&M a ton of money apparently to get his name on it.
He's got it. When is he gonna get it on Auburn's field? I'm wondering.
When is he gonna pay me?
That's funny. For those that don't know, Kyle Loomis is the person that heads this whole thing up. Y'all are like, what are y'all talking about? Most of y'all. But anyways, okay, sorry. I got us off on a different direction. Yeah, it's a lot of people. I've been to Neyland Stadium. That's huge. That's probably the biggest.
Yeah.
I've been to Bryant Denny, but that was before they had made it bigger. Interestingly enough, the loudest stadium I've ever been to is Florida. They were louder.
Oh yes.
They were louder than Neyland, louder than Sanford. Sanford's was not loud to me when I went, and then louder than Alabama Stadium.
Yeah. The only time I was at the Swamp in Gainesville, it was one of those super down years for Florida, and even then, like there were moments of like pretty loud. I was pretty impressed, but I agree. Like I've been to Sanford Stadium a couple times, and I'm honestly not impressed. Like
I think they lose a lot of noise on where they got that bridge there where they can't I think a lot escapes there. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're very loud, and I haven't been since their recent dominant run. Maybe they're louder now, but the Swamp, the thing I noticed about the Swamp was every even the alumni got involved in all their chants, where at Auburn and other schools it's kind of like, okay, the student section and some alumni. Florida, like everybody was involved. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fun atmosphere.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like that's what's kind of fun about like SEC games. Like, my dad got to. I don't know if he'd ever been to a Kentucky game in Lexington. I feel like that's something fun to go do as a fan. I mean, I want to go back and track it, but I think I've probably been to like 6 or 7 of the SEC stadiums at this point, and each one's just they're fun. It's fun places. Now, one place I don't think I'll ever go is Baton Rouge. Like, I do not have any desire to go down there and probably get. I don't know. I hope somebody doesn't like beat me up down there, because it just feels like if I went down there, they'd look at me and be like,
"They get rowdy, man. They can get rowdy."
Yeah. All right, Jared. Before we get out of here, how can the people stay in touch with you?
You can find me on Facebook under my name, Jared Davis.
And you can find me on X at AJAY_. It's always great to be an Auburn Tiger and War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.